You check your bank balance on Sunday night. The number is lower than expected. You think back through the week. Nothing dramatic. A few small purchases, one meal out, a thing you added to your cart almost without noticing. You add it up in your head. It still doesn't explain the gap. So you land in the same place you always do. You tell yourself the answer is more discipline. You've told yourself this before. You set the budget, you track the categories. 2 weeks in, it holds. Then something shifts. A long day, a stressful week, a moment where spending feels like the only available relief. The numbers slide again. You look at the evidence. The conclusion feels inescapable. The problem is you. Here is what nobody tells you. That conclusion is wrong. Overspending is not a willpower failure. It is the predictable output of an environment engineered to produce it. Every screen, every store layout, every notification, all of it was designed with one objective: reduce the distance between your attention and your wallet. Willpower is finite. The system is not. You are not losing a discipline contest. You are losing an infrastructure contest. Those are not the same thing. Think about the last time you spent money you hadn't planned to. You weren't scrolling with intention. You were tired. A notification pulled you in. Something appeared that seemed relevant. The price looked reasonable. You checked out before the thought fully formed. You weren't weak. You were inside an environment tested on millions of users, optimized at every friction point, refined to produce that exact outcome. The result wasn't accidental. It was engineered. And that environment does not stop when you close the app. The physical layout of every store you walk through was designed the same way. The checkout placement, the product positioning, the lighting, none of that is neutral. It is all architecture. Architecture you navigate every day, invisible as a force acting on your spending. But there is something underneath this that nobody addresses directly. It is not only that the external system is designed against you, the internal system has been shaped to cooperate with it. Here is what makes it worse. Spending has been wired to relief, not luxury, not celebration, relief. You had a difficult week. On Friday evening, you opened an app without a specific intention. The cart filled almost on its own. You weren't making a purchase. You were restoring a sense of control. When many things feel out of reach, that signal matters. The system knows this. That is why the sales event lands on a Friday evening. Here's the part nobody warns you about. The relief is real, but it is temporary. The gap it leaves, the lower balance, the vague guilt, starts another cycle. The spending is not random. It is self-reinforcing. Each cycle makes the next one more likely, not because you are weak, because the system is operating exactly as intended. And it goes deeper than that. Your spending is also responding to identity. Every purchase is a statement about who you are or who you intend to be. The gym membership you keep paying for is not a transaction. It is proof that you are someone who values health. The coffee you buy each morning is not caffeine. It is a ritual that signals a certain kind of life. Spending becomes shorthand for selfhood, and cutting it out feels like cutting away pieces of yourself. There is a layer below even that, and this is where the real damage accumulates quietly. When income rises, spending rises with it almost automatically. You earn more, the baseline shifts. The lifestyle that once felt like a stretch becomes the floor. And when that floor rises, the margin stays thin, sometimes thinner, regardless of how much more is coming in. You get a raise. Within 6 months, your end-of-month balance looks almost identical to before. Not because you are reckless, because the system recalibrates around you. Subscriptions quietly upgraded, the restaurant standard shifted, the version of treating yourself moved upward. None of it felt like a decision. It happened gradually, invisibly. And here is what that creates. You are earning significantly more than 3 years ago, feeling exactly as constrained as before. The income went up.
The anxiety stayed the same. The gap between income and outflow compressed back to its familiar size, not through any single decision, through the slow upward migration of what counts as normal. That is not a failure of ambition. That is a structural outcome. The system produces it reliably across every income level. When you frame overspending as a willpower problem, the solution becomes discipline, more restriction, tighter budgets, harder rules. Discipline applied to an architectural problem produces a specific result: short-term compliance, then collapse, then guilt, then the same cycle restarting. Think about how that plays out over a year. January arrives, you set a spending target, you track every category. For a few weeks, the numbers stay clean. Then a difficult month lands, an unexpected bill, a social obligation you didn't plan for, a moment of exhaustion where the rule feels less important than the relief. The budget breaks. You feel like the problem, and you start again. Here is the structure of the trap. You are solving an environment problem with a personal resource. Willpower depletes. The environment does not. Every day you rely on restriction alone, you draw from a finite account. Eventually, the balance hits zero. The purchase happens. Because the framework was disciplined, the failure gets attributed to you. But when the source is environment and identity, not character, the question shifts entirely. It stops being, why can't I control myself? It becomes, what is this environment producing, and what would a different one produce? That is not a softer question. It is a more accurate one. You did everything right, and somehow that's the problem. You followed the rules you were given. Track your spending, build a budget, show more discipline. You tried those things. Some worked for a while. Then the month got difficult. The week got long. Something caught your attention in a moment of low resistance. The number moved. That is not a character assessment. That is a system operating on a human being. The system was built with more resources than you had. It has been refined over decades. It accounts for fatigue, for stress, for the way the mind works under pressure. You were never the variable that needed changing. The fact that you were still asking why is a signal. The framework you were given was incomplete. You have been working with an inaccurate map, and now you have a better one. Rule 1. The environment spends your money before you decide to. Friction, defaults, and exposure are not neutral. They are architecture. The environment you operate in makes certain spending automatic and others invisible. The decision happens before you are aware you are making it. Rule 2. Identity spending is not optional, but it can be redirected. Spending that maintains your self-image is not irrational. It is human. The question is whether that image is one you chose or one assigned to you. Rule 3. Income growth without structural change produces the same outcome at higher cost. You earn more, the underlying architecture does not solve. It often masks it. The margin stays thin. The feeling stays the same. The number has more digits. You are not failing when you check the balance on Sunday night. You are inside a system designed to produce that exact feeling at that exact moment so that the cycle can begin again. Overspending was never the problem you were told it was. The system that produces it was always larger than any individual willpower could contain. Understanding that shifts the contest entirely. Not a discipline problem, an architecture problem. Knowing that doesn't change the balance tonight, but it changes the question you bring to tomorrow. And a better question over time builds a different outcome. That is how the system starts to lose its hold.